up. Everything's looking good. We look great on screen. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Topshelfers podcast. Today, we have two sponsors. I know for you longtime listeners, it's probably exciting to hear that we got our first one. Guess what? Now we got our second one. So we're sponsored by Hepius and Dark Prime Collections. Now, Hepius is the number one place to go for premium CBD that won't break the bank. It's locally owned and sourced here in Utah, and it is safe for work, meaning there's no THC. They do have something for everyone. I personally am using their number 2 broad spectrum. I love how it makes me feel. Gives me some energy, relaxes my body. It's great for daily use. If you're interested, head over to hepiusmed.com. That is HEPIUSMED.com. And then Dark Prime Collections up in Clearfield. Listen, if you are interested in anything in the nerdum world, Dark Prime Collections has something for you, from Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Legos, Star Wars. I mean, and that's just the tip of the iceberg for what they have to offer. You can head over to their website, darkprimecollectibles.com, and they do have an eBay store where you can look at their inventory and purchase online. Thank you to Hepius and Dark Prime Collectibles. Now, to introduce my guest today, I'm super excited. We have met. I've known you for about 3-4 weeks now. We met through Connect Utah, and you have just recently been on a very popular Netflix documentary, Murder Among the Mormons. And I'm excited to have you on because I want to hear the stories of what happened after, how you got to the point where you can, heal, how you healed, how you're able to get to a point where you can progress your life. And then not only that, but you are a business owner now. And that's Dorie Olds, everyone, who, if you aren't familiar, you should be by now.
Yay! Thanks for inviting me. This is very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that aside from because I've been going over to your place of business and, we've been discussing different things, but it truly has been inspiring for me just because, once I got to know the story, right, and to see how you are still pushing to, you own your own business, the School of Creation, you have clientele, and you're working super hard to still reach your dreams. I mean, I think that can help so many people when they hear that side of things, not just what they hear on like a Netflix documentary.
Well, and that's true. In my age, I have a lot of friends. I'm 62. And so I have a lot of people who have worked all their life and ready to retire, and they're wanting to know when I'm retiring. And I don't want to retire. I felt like I'm just getting started. I didn't get into my own business world until I was 40. So I haven't done the 40 years like some have when they started earlier. But yeah, I have passion. I'm excited about it. I'm not ready to say I'm done. I have a lot more to learn and a lot more to be helping people, and I'm just ready to go.
I mean, I think that's amazing too, just because, I think that age is an interesting thing when people start talking about retirement and what they want to do and different things like that. And, aside from people who have tons and tons and tons of money, you hear a lot of people who end up retiring and they're not necessarily happy anymore because they're not pushing for, either helping other individuals, or they're not happy just kind of sitting around hanging out. So I like the fact that you do want to keep continuing, you do want to push and, make the next big dreams happen. I really don't think that there should be a limit on age. Like, if you have peers who are retiring, that's fine. But if you still feel like there's a lot for you that you want to accomplish, why stop?
Yeah, why stop? And there are a number of baby boomers, and I'm on the very tail end of that, who have done a business, did what they were supposed to do, and supported their family and got their retirement. But now that they have that retirement that they can relax on into or support them, then they're starting their own business too. So there's is that whole group that starting what they really like, what they found there is their passion now, and they start again. So maybe I'm in that way, I'm part of that group. But I know there are people that are in that Connect Utah group that have done that are starting a new business after retiring from the old one. And so, yeah, it's like, I think that the age I am is a very exciting age.
I think so too. Well, and I think it's important too to have individuals like you who are still like you're getting into social media, right? You have a Twitter, you have an Instagram, you have Facebook, you know, and interacting because like my generation, right? I'm 26 for those of you who are listening. It's important to have individuals who are at that age of retirement to learn from, to be like, hey, what is it that you did to get to this point, and what advice would you give us younger folk that to be the happiest possible, because the only way we're going to know those answers is if we talk to people who are. And I know that like kind of the older, like the baby boomer generation, a lot of them are getting onto social media, but there's still a large percentage who don't. Or if they do, it's just kind of like, hey, I have my family and a couple friends. They don't have like this bigger reach. And I think that's kind of a shame, because I would love to be able to hear all the different experiences there are, because who knows, maybe someone can give me that advice and it will completely change my trajectory in life.
Well, I think that's true. We don't really know what we can offer. We don't know where we're making a difference with people. And I think that's true. It's like all ages, there's all ages that help each other. And I know you have a much more experience with all the media. And so you're helping me to be able to understand that and what to do and how to do it, and in that professional way. But that is true. It's like we all are here to help each other, and it's hard to know. But I listened to your comment about the older generation helping you now, and there's a lot of things right now where what worked for that older generation isn't going to work for you, because the way the 401ks, and you used to be that you'd have one job and you'd have that job for your whole life and then retire, and that still does happen with people, but a lot of times now you're changing jobs, or then the whole financial thing with 401, that's a whole different thing. And I think there's a lot of new stuff that the old solutions aren't going to be there.
Right.
I think we're in a new world of finding our way together, so.
I definitely agree with you, and I think it's only going to get more confusing and convoluted as time goes on. And I'm fearful of things like, they've already saying that like when I get of retirement age, there won't be like social security or different things like that. So, what steps should I be taking now to, plan for that? And then, who knows with all the stocks and different things like that. But I agree with you. I think it's just finding that balance of like where everyone can commingle and just try and uprise everyone instead of, the opposite. Because I mean, we do see that a lot, and that it really bums me out.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go off topic here, because when you look at that, it's like what the fearful, like, what if Social Security isn't there? What if these bases aren't going to be there? What am I going to do? And what you do is use that law of attraction. That's what you do. And you create your own economy. You create what you want. And as you put out there, and this is what I have done, but I'm learning how to do it still. You put out, what is the picture of what you want? And you start and you act, you have the feeling and act as if it's that way. And so, physically, it's not there in your physical world, but you have the feelings, you're grateful, you act as if, wow, I'm just so happy that this is here now. And that gets you on the frequency that will actually manifest for you. And so if you're in the fear of things, you're going to have what you feared. You're going to attract what you fear. But if you are and if you really get clear about what you want, like how much money do you want or how you want it to be, and it may not be exact because our world is there's a lot of things that are changing, yet you would have the security, you would have the base that you want. Without, it may not be in the same form as you're looking right now with what's in place, but you would still have it. And that's how you do that, is you use the secret, you use the law of attraction. And those are the things that I actually work with in the school of creation, because that is the creation process. It isn't going linear. Okay, I need to, and when I say that, it isn't going linear, but there are linear places, but you have to listen inside and say, okay, for today in this moment, what is it I need to be doing? Do I need to be getting life insurance? Do I need to be buying a house and putting in a mortgage? Do I need to be not doing those things? And so each individual has to find that way for themselves. And I can't tell you, I can't sometimes I get intuition for people, yet it's not my job. It's my job to help them get their answers. It's my job, if I was working with you in this way, to help you get your answers. It's not my job to have the answers for you. My job is to have the answers for me. But you can get, it's like getting that vision of, yeah, you know what, I'm going to, here's what I want. I'm going to have it because I've decided I'm going to have it, and I'm going to be putting energy in that every single day. And by the time you want it to be there, it will be there. That's how this works. And that is creation. It isn't necessarily walking that linear line, but it's a combination of both. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think that, we, in America, right, for a long time, I think there was that linear path that a lot of people followed because it was told like, this will bring us happiness, right? It was like high school, college, house, car, wife, family, boom, now we're there. And I think that for a lot of people, that still is the case, right? And I imagine there's tons of happiness in following that. But we're also starting to see, I think probably due to social media, a lot of people who are like, well, that's just not for me. That doesn't sound like happiness to me. So it's also trying to help all these other individuals now who are like, well, if I can't follow that path, like, what is the happiness? And like you said, it's, you got to find it. You got to start doing the law of attraction. You got to figure out what you desire the most. And I think people are still struggling to be like, okay, well, I don't know. What do I desire?
It really is true. Then that right there is one of the trickiest questions, to know what you want. What do I desire? And you have to really play with it. It's like going to a store, a clothing store, and you try on all these different kind of clothes, and you're looking from the mirror and try this coat on. This coat is long. This one is short. This one is more tailored. This one isn't. You start trying on these different coats, and you see which one you like. And maybe later you wouldn't, but right in this moment, which one do you like? And that's kind of what it's like. You start with what you like right now, and it can change, and you can change with it and make changes with your plan. But yet, what do you like right now? And sometimes you have to try it on, walk around in it, and see how it feels. Then you get to know. And in my situation, I was 28 years old, where that base was totally removed. That linear path hasn't really been the way that would work for me. So I've had to go a different way. And so it's like, depends on the person and how they can do it. But for me, the law of attraction is exactly the way I need to go, because I'm not on the path for that, the way that was, because I was left with a lot of debt. I lost my house. There's things that happened that base was totally gone. And that's happened with a lot of people. Right. This is the way to bring that back, is through that law of attraction.
Well, and I really, really like your try and close on analogy. Because I always tell people too, on, when they're trying to find their happiness, I'm like, you have to remember, when I was 18, what I thought would make me happy didn't make me happy when I was 20. And that didn't make me happy when I was 22, and so on and so forth. So it's like, it is an ever evolving thing. And I just think the more in tune you are with yourself, and the more in tune with your happiness, then maybe you might be able to find that, like, that genuine, like, perfect situation. But I think it's rare. I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I think it's rare for people to find that perfect scenario. I think it's always ever evolving.
I agree. It's always ever evolving. And you have to look at happiness, peace, joy. It's like, what are those different feelings, and when do I feel that? And sometimes I have been in situations where I really haven't felt very happy, but I felt peace. And I know that I would be happy in a minute. I'm not right now.
Right.
Or I know I'm working with someone in a session. There's a real joy with me in just having that person leave different than when they came in. They're feeling better. They're more empowered. There's that joy within me that I love, that helping people. And knowing I do that brings that in, but that is a little different feeling than a happiness. And it really is checking in with what's going on. And I have a friend who would ask me every day, well, what's the weather today? And she wasn't talking about the outside weather. She was talking about the inside weather. Right. And her asking that question every day made me, I needed to answer. And so I had to know myself. And so I'd have to start checking in, and I started finding myself, am I happy today? Or why, if I'm not, why not? What's going on? What's causing distress? What's causing the partly cloudy? What's causing the thunderstorm? And I really started paying attention to that. And I think that's a really one good way to know what brings you happiness is to finding out where you're not happy, or what is that internal weather? What is it that's happening for you? And noticing what's creating that inside of you.
Right. I'm curious, in your professional opinion, do you see a lot of similar things, like when people start like digging deeper and they're like, well, okay, well maybe this isn't what makes me happy. Do you see a lot of similar things? Like, is it family? Is it health? Is it wealth? Is it a mixture of all that, or is it usually super unique per person? Because I'm kind of curious, because like when I talk to people I know who, generally say like, I'm not happy. Well, what's the source? It seems to be like toxic family or friends, right? Or, they don't feel healthy, or they don't feel like they are attractive, or their money is struggling. So I'm curious with your professional opinion, if a lot of it is those core values, or if it usually ends up being something more specific.
There is a lot of repetition. It's like we are all of us very similar. There's some core feelings, some core areas that come up all the time that I will specifically look at with each client. And if it's like when we have a base, when we have our needs met, that there is a security, there's a feeling of security. There is a feeling of peace when we know I'm going to have my bills go out and they're all going to get paid. I'm going to have my house next month. I'm going to be in this. There is a base with that if you don't have that, if you're feeling that there's that much insecurity in your life where you're wondering, am I going to make it to the end of the month? Which I know that place very well. I know that it does affect. It does affect, and it makes it a little more difficult. And yet sometimes when we have something that's taken care of, and then we find ourselves, we can still be unhappy for other reasons. So happiness is a really interesting place.
And that's the thing, is like, I wonder if there is a point in time where someone, or if there are people who are genuinely always just happy. I know that sounds super simple at its core, but is that possible to get to? Because I know a lot of people who are very, very happy with their life, and very, all their things are taken care of. They got the money, they got the health, they got the wealth, they got all those core values. There's food on the table always. But is it possible? Like, I still feel like there's got to be days where things just don't align properly. And, it's one of those things. I wonder if those individuals who have really bad days, or excuse me, are usually always having really good days, if those bad days are super tough for them because they're more rare. Where if individuals kind of are on that normal, like, yeah, my days are decent, when they have really good days, it's like, yeah, they're good. But when they have really bad days, it isn't as impactful.
Well, that really does depend on the person. I mean, that would depend on the person. I know for me, I have decided to be happy. And when I'm feeling crappy, I really don't like those lower frequencies. I've gotten through my practice and through my work and through all that I've gone through some real lower energies, and I don't like being in those. And the best way is to be grateful. And so maybe not focusing on being happy, but just being grateful. And if I do grateful exercises every day, gratitude exercises every day, and I'll be kind of grumpy, or I'll feel this, and I think, I don't want to be in this every day, all day long. One, I know that frequency is going to take me away from what I'm wanting through the law of attraction. I need to be in gratitude. I need to be on the frequency of attraction, or I'm going to attract what I don't want. And I've had enough of what I don't want in my life, really, truly, honestly. And so for me, it isn't saying, okay, I'm going to be happy today. It's my starting to say, I am grateful. And sometimes I've had to just say it, and I don't feel it yet. Okay, I'm going to say it again. I don't feel it yet. And finally, after like 2 hours, I find myself, it starts opening up, and I'm grateful. And I just find the smallest thing to the biggest thing, whatever that is. And that is where my source of happiness, the pathway to that, is through gratitude. Because when I start feeling gratitude, then suddenly it's like it's like that you'll be outside and it's cloudy, and then suddenly the cloud moves and there's sunshine. That's how fast it can be when that just clicks. And I can find that gratitude, even though the situation hasn't changed that I may have been grumpy about. But all of a sudden I'm in a different mindset. All of a sudden I'm in a different feeling, and that I have to work at that sometimes. It isn't all automatic. It isn't that, oh, I'm just happy every day and it just happens. I have to work at it. And I was listening to a person on YouTube of a business person the other day, and he was saying that he doesn't, when he wakes up in that kind of lethargy or not that excited about the day, he has certain music he plays, and when he starts playing that music, and he starts dancing around, then he gets him up and ready, and then he can do his work, because there is a mindset of doing work. There is a mindset of feeling happy and being on the phone with people and helping them get excited about what you're doing. And you have to be able to do that. And if you have an off day, and that off day you've had that a wasted day.
Right.
And because you couldn't get on task or you didn't get everything done. And I've had those days where it's like, okay, I didn't get anything done. Now I got tomorrow to get everything done. I didn't get done today. And really it was a wasted day. And being able to know how to do that for yourself, to get onto that gratitude path and get yourself to where you are feeling happy. And I've had people tell me, I am so glad I don't have your life. I'm so glad I live the way you live. I'm so glad, all these list of things. And they say, you know what? I'm happy. I am very grateful. I think my life is exciting. I have things to look forward to every day. And to other people, they're like, why can you even smile? Because your life is, I don't want your life. Well, that's fine. That's your life and I have mine. But I am happy, and I am grateful. And that makes the whole difference in the whole world, because I know what I'm grateful for.
Right. I mean, that at its core, what you just said, I mean, not only is that super important, but super inspirational. I mean, to be able to find that happiness in the darkness, right, is, I'm sure, took years and years and years and years and years and years, to figure out what is it, like, what am I thankful for? What makes me smile? But people need to realize that it can happen. And I think the gratitude is so important. I actually got challenged recently by one of my mentors to start doing daily positive affirmations and a gratitude journal. And I can't explain how impactful it's been, because you realize, like, I think we take for granted a lot of the time how much good goes on in your life that you just don't want to see. Like you said, like, a cloudy day turns into a sunny day. A lot of people just kind of ignore it, but the reality is, like, it's pretty amazing. And the fact that we live in a society where we get to talk to individuals that go through, that we would normally never interact with. Like, I don't think I would have ever crossed paths with you if it wasn't for the time that we live in now. You live 20-30 minutes away from me, and I don't venture down there. I don't know how often you get up to my area, but the odds of us interacting would have been pretty small, and I'm super thankful for that too. And I think people just, because of how fast paced and crazy and the next big thing and all these exciting things go on, like House on the Hill type of style, I think they forget, like, how amazing just the small little things are.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's one of the things to look at. But you look at this, I mean, how people say how terrible, oh, terrible 2020, I want it to be gone. Oh, it's a horrible, terrible, horrendous year. I mean, I started a business in the middle of all of that. And yet you and I wouldn't have met if we weren't doing meetings on Zoom.
Yeah.
Well, you probably wouldn't have come down to do the selling meeting. That's the one I would have been on.
Yeah.
And even if maybe one day I was there and you weren't there, and then we would have missed each other. But the fact of the Zoom and how that's taken off, and how people around the world can participate. And I was in a retreat, an event where normally this presenter would do 1,200 people in California in person. She had to rent a big space, and it was, I don't know how much it cost, but it was a lot of money, more than what was being charged for the Zoom. And she did a Zoom event because all of these people that were making lots of money doing all of this, and because they're good and they are helping people, but they're making lots of money, they had to figure out, how do I keep this income coming, and how do I keep doing this? How do I keep helping people? And so when Zoom came along, the event I attended had over 7,000 people there.
Wow.
I mean, that is a lot. And she announced that they have an event in October that, I don't know, maybe it was planned ahead or how long ahead it was planned. And that's my last one. And I can see what, 1,200 to 7,000, you have a much bigger impact on Zoom. I mean, and if you have a way to have that many participants, and I loved it. We had breakout rooms, and we had to answer questions, and there were people that didn't choose not to do that, and suddenly they turn their mic off, and they close their camera, and they're in the group, but they're not participating. That's their choice. And maybe that's where they weren't able to do that. They weren't in a place to share. Maybe they needed to just answer those questions for themselves. And so that's okay. But the ones that I know people now that I'm now Facebook friends that were in that group that are from around the world, because I participated in that. I would never have met them.
Right.
And they're awesome people. And I'm really glad I know them now. And we can talk about our goals and what we learned there. And are we still, where are our obstacles, and with people that, I never would have met them.
I think 2020 is the perfect year to try and practice gratitude. Because, I mean, it definitely is one of those things where times were looking bleak. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I had that day where I was like, man, if this is as scary as it's portrayed, I need to go get, I ran to the store, I got food, canned food, water, the whole nine, because I was like, I don't know, this is scary. And I think for a lot of individuals it's had a huge impact. But if you can try and find a way to be thankful for 2020 even through all the craziness, and granted, right, how many people lost family members, how many people lost jobs and everything, it's tragic, it's very, very difficult. But 2020 is one of those things, is not only as individuals but as society, we need to heal from it. And I think gratitude is a first step towards trying to find that healing.
It is a first step. And the next and another step, I don't know if it's what number of step it would be, it's learning how to know, because we can go inside, we can ask inside as we practice and get that tool practice. Because you riding a bike, you didn't get on a bike and ride it the first time. I know I fell a few times. I didn't tie my shoe the first time. I didn't walk down the hall the first time I fell. We have to practice. But as we practice, you check in and you ask, do I need to do this? Where do I need to go? What is it I need to do here? Do I need to go get the vaccine? Do I need to go get some vitamin C? Do I need to go buy all this food? And when that was happening, that frenzy, and I checked in and said, what do I need to get? What do I need? And it was like, nothing, you're fine. You have a few things here, that's going to be enough. And so I didn't go out in that frenzy. I wasn't worried. I had that feeling inside, I have what I need. I'm fine. There's nothing's going to happen here. And that place right there, when we can do that for ourselves, then that fear leaves. Then we listen to something that someone else says and say, okay, does this apply to me? Is this something I need to be concerned about? Now, if you're concerned about it, you take action, and then so that you prepare for it. But there's no place that you go to fear. Okay, this is coming. I need to do certain things. Okay. And then I do them, and then I'm fine.
Right.
And if it means leave your house, like the fire's coming, I need to leave my house, or if it's no, this is on the news, but I'm going to be fine. And that is the place where we need to get to, because otherwise you are having someone else tell you how to live your life, someone else tell you what you need to do. And those other people don't know you. They don't know what you need. They don't know that. And I have had multiple times when I've had that. I've been told that. It's like, don't go down this way, or don't stay with these people, or you need to go home now. I've had those things that have been told to me inside, and I don't know all the reasons why, but I've listened to that. And I think that's the part that a lot of people still need to learn, that they have that place within them will keep them safe. And that's partly what I do, is helping my clients, helping people get in touch with that, because I don't have your answers. My job is to help you find your own answers. And if I had your answers, I'd be the guru. You'd have to come to me every time you had a question. You'd have to come to me, and then you pay me, and then I have to tell you the answer. It's like that's imprisonment. That's not, I mean, and hoping that that I'm going to tell you the truth, or hoping that I have that the answer I tell you will be right. That is not sovereignty. That's depending on another person. You don't want that. You want to be able to know for yourself. I've had times when I've walked in a house that I was looking at to rent and immediately knew, okay, this is the place I need to move into. I know this is the right place. Now, what do I need to do this? What are the steps I have to take? And some of those are linear and some of those aren't. And other times going to a place like, no, this isn't the right place. I'm doing that right now. I'm in a process of finding office space, going in and seeing, is this right? Is this not? I know one place I went the other day, it's like, no, this isn't going to work. This is not the right place for me. And it's partly you're looking at the physical, but partly it's the energy. And because I've practiced that area, I know, and I trust myself. And that's the thing that in that past life, during that marriage and those events, I wasn't trusting myself. And that was part of the problem for me, was because I didn't know how. I wasn't, and I didn't know how to stand up for myself, and I didn't know how to go within. All those things that I have now, I didn't have then, and it was hell. Depending on someone else who does not have your best interest at heart, that is hell. That is stress. That is not a happy place. And trying to pretend, I was believing he did, but then things kept showing up that show that he wasn't. And not the crime itself, because that wasn't, till I understood that till later, but there were other things, and it's like, something's wrong here, but then I didn't know what else to do, because I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't depend on myself because I didn't know how. And so that's one of the lessons I learned with that, is I need to be able to know for myself. And I can ask other people and then see what they say. And sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be right, but what if it isn't?
Do you think that being able to learn, like to be able to trust yourself and know like that level, do you think you have to go through something where you have to just now fully trust yourself, or because there's no other options, or do you think it's something that you can practice? Because I think that is something that a lot of people don't know how to do. I mean, I'm a perfect example of that. I didn't trust myself or be able to, not necessarily, I kind of stand up for myself, but in different facets, like for a long time. And, I think that there's probably tons and tons of people who still are struggling with that and, might not ever get to that point. So, I mean, do you think it's something that you have to go through and have to just be put on the spot and like, yeah, now I have to, because this is the only option I have? Or do you think there are routes people could take to, practice that skill?
Well, it didn't happen overnight for me. I mean, it had to be practiced. That's kind of like the bike, where you have the training wheels for a while and you find people in your life, and it sounds like you have a mentor. You have a mentor because you trust that person.
Yeah.
And so there's a place you can trust, and there's a place you can ask and say, I don't know what to do in this area. What do you think? And so that is the way. Trying to do it all on your own by yourself without it's like going from no practice to suddenly totally trusting yourself in every area. That really that's not plausible.
Right.
You're more guessing or hoping, or it's a learning process, and it does take time, and it does take learning how, and it does take having people in your life that you do trust. And if you don't have those, then you find those. And asking, this is the thing, there is a universal source. There is, whatever name you want to call it, there is this source out there that if you start asking and saying, I need a trusted person, I need a mentor, I need someone who I can talk to. I had in my life, through that whole process, people who I could go to from the beginning. And then after that process, after that was the initial part was done, and I was on another phase of my life, I had people come in my life that I know were no accident, that I could depend on, that helped me, that I could lean on until I could lean on myself. I trying to just go cold turkey from not trusting at all to totally trust. You need that. You need the journey. It does take time.
Right.
And finding those people. And I totally trust that we each have our own connection, and you start asking for help. You start asking for those to come in your life that would be the right ones that could help you on your journey. You will find those people. They will come into your life. And it is that simple, because each one of us is totally and completely known. And what we came to learn is known. Where we are in our process, what's in our way that we're not seeing is known. And you will have those things brought to your awareness if you ask, please help me understand, help me see, help me, what is my passion? What is it I want to do when I grow up? And I still ask that question. I mean, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I find that I get answers, or I have somebody say something to me, or I'll have something brought to my attention, and like people might say something to me, and where I'm in the bank waiting in a line at the bank, and they don't even know that I asked that question, and they'll say something to me. It's like, oh wow, there's my answer. Thank you. They don't know that they were the answer, but yet we are that we're that much known, and it's like that energy is everywhere. You can call it the quantum field, whatever you want to call it. That when you start doing that, you will find yourself being brought to you those things that are going to help you, and people that will help you, and ideas that will help you. And because it is a learning process, and I'm where I am, and I don't know where I'm not. So someone else may come along and say, okay, I can see where you are, but you could use some help getting to this next level. Well, I don't even know that next level, because I'm not there yet.
Right.
I know where I'm below. And so we all need the places where we need help, and we don't know what we don't know.
I think, and that was perfectly put. And the reason why I wanted to ask that is to give more reinforcement to my generation and the younger ones, right? Because we're at this point where a lot of people talk about depression and anxiety, and it's become a more outspoken topic, which is great, right? Because there are individuals who do need help. But I think at the same time, we live in this period now where everything is instant, right? We get so much instant gratification from, social media, to like how you can go and just live your life. Like everything is so fast paced now that I think, myself included in this, we lose track of like, oh yeah, there are processes in life that take a long time to learn how to do. And I think that goes for a lot of things that my generation is struggling with, is we're so used to how everything is instant now. Information is instant now, but we still have to keep that mindset of like, well, if I'm not happy today, then I guess everything's in ruins. No, it's like a muscle. You have to work out to find your happiness. You have to work out to find what will make you tick and what will wake you up every day and put you in that good mood. It can't be instant. And I think that's the main reason why I wanted to ask that question, is because I truly believe that not enough people are taking the long approach to this desire for happiness.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I was 40 years old before I really realized what I wanted to do when I grew up. And it wasn't when I was 20. It wasn't when I was going to college, and it wasn't when I was 30. It took me a while for that. And one solution for those people having that challenge is to go and start gardening. You have a plan. I've been gardening for quite a number of years. I've been involved with community garden. I've been involved with family gardens. And you have a plan, and you have a plan for 1 year, and you put that into place. But then you have longer term plans, and trees take a while to grow. And what do you want to go here? And sometimes when you want to do organic gardening, it takes a while, takes several seasons for that soil to become the way you want it to be, as you nourish it and put in the amendments. And it takes a while to really get it to where you want it to be. And as you're growing that garden, you might say, okay, now I'm going to expand a little bit and do something over here. And I want to put a little park bench in here, and I'm going to put a little water feature. You start over time expanding, and you see some of these beautiful yards that people have in neighborhoods. And you ask them, well, how long have you been working on this? Well, about 30 years. It's taken 30 years to really get it to look the way it is that day. And it does take time. And looking at the long term and realizing that's how things work. And there are things that are instant, yet there are things that are really quite delicious and to eat, and other that take time. Kimchi is how long does that take to ferment? How long, have sourdough starters, you have foods that sometimes they need to marinate. It isn't always instant. And you can go to the fast food place and quickly get a meal and get in the drive-through, but how long did that meal really take to be prepared?
Right.
And you have the whole field of slow cooking that are the chefs that are doing the slow cooking. But there are those places where it takes year after year, and as far as I know, it still takes 9 months to have a baby.
Right.
That has been sped up. I don't know that you'd want to. I don't think that would be very safe, but there is a quality of patience. And I noticed for myself that with the social media, I find myself thinking fast or not holding a thought very long, and I have to practice thinking long thoughts, practice that meditation, practice staying in a place, because it's zip, 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 zip. And I got to do this call. Oh, a text just came in. Oh, I need to answer this email. And we have these short thoughts that our brains get used to short thoughts. And then we start wanting to have a long thought and we can't do it.
Right.
So that's where meditation, that's where there's candle focus, there's breathing techniques, things that as you take the time to really practice longer thoughts, practice just being still, practice. But it's a practice. And I had just had this thought yesterday. It's like, I need to do more of that, because I'm noticing I am jumping with my thoughts, and I'm noticing that I'm having a harder time with when I'm thinking of something, of holding on to that. And I know it's because I've been doing social media. I know that's one reason why. And it's the phone calls and texts and emails in business that you want to take care of right away. So you stop what you're doing, you stop your thought, and turn your attention to the immediate, whatever that is. And when you're doing the meditation, when you're doing the breathing or yoga or other things, you're not stopping to do that. You're not stopping what you're doing and go check that. You're putting it away and you're setting it aside. You'll get to it in that half hour or hour, whatever time. And we need those practices, because it really is important to be able to have our concentration and have those longer thoughts. But you're right. It's that instant. And then we have to wait 2 minutes for someone that responds to us on the text, and we're getting edgy and anxious, like, oh, why are they answering? And a lot of this is practice. It really is. And it's quite an amazing time. I think that 2020 was an amazing year. I think we're having an amazing life. Zoom is amazing. I know people have had tragedies, and that's who I want to help. That's who I want to be with, because I have lost the fear of death because of the deaths that have happened in my family. And I know those beings are still around. I still have contact with them. I still can talk with them, and they can talk back to me. And it's a different kind of relationship. It isn't the same, but yet they're still there. They're not gone anywhere. They're not it's like they are still there. I can't even explain how I would say that. They're not in a body form, yet they're still there. And I had one person was talking to me about something. Well, I wish I could tell my dad that. And I says, well, why don't you? Well, he's dead. Well, why don't you? Why don't you tell him? You can tell him now. Why don't you tell him? And he's kind of like crossing his eyes, and he would be happy to hear from you. Go just talk with them. You don't have to go to the graveyard. You don't have to go to say, Dad or Phil or whoever it is, this is what I want to tell you. And you will feel, if you don't hear the answer, you'll feel that they are responding. They hurt. You'll know that. They're still there. They're right. They're just one instant away from you if you reach out.
Well, and I think too, like on the side of like just making yourself feel better about, like, if there is something that you've always wanted to say to someone who has passed away, like, getting it off your chest regardless is going to make you feel better too.
Yes.
that happened to me personally. I don't want to
Yeah.
share the experience, but there was a passing in my family, and there was stuff that as I grew older, I wish I could have told this individual about. And like, it kind of gets me a little teary eyed, and I don't want to get too deep in it, but like, I was able to say it out loud, and whether or not he heard it, like, made me feel better.
Made you feel better? Yeah. And when my dad passed away, it was 98. I was really angry with him, and I didn't really, I didn't really say goodbye to him, and I was cranky and didn't want to talk with him. And over time, I found myself being able to like healing up and having that experience. And when I started talking to him, that really was healing for me, and it was healing for him. It's like he can't do anything about that, how angry I am. Where now it's so it was very healing for both of us to be that I would, when I started having those conversations and just telling him, this and this happened, and I love you, and I'm glad you're my dad, and I'm glad of all the experiences, and it was my truth. And there was a peace. I could feel a peace with him, that I was at peace with him. I could feel he was at peace, that I was at peace with him. But it wasn't overnight. It took me a while for that to happen. But it is important to continue. I think it's important to continue those relationships and talk about things with them, and talk about what you're doing, and share. I have a cat that lays on my bed every night that I can't even remember what year. In the 90s, sometime passed away. And every time I've moved, they say, okay, you're coming with me. Just make sure you come along. And there's the cat at the end of my bed again. And I have a little dog that walks behind me that passed away. That's what she did when she was alive. And I could just feel her walking behind me. And she's just there. I was like, come along, come on, keep up, and just, I can feel her behind me. And I love that. I love knowing that she's there. There's a love that we have that's not going to go anywhere, so. Yeah. And can I pet her, and can I hold her, and can I no? But it is very sweet to feel her there.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, pets are something, that's a whole.
They're important. They matter a lot.
They are very important. I had a conversation with my fiance not too long ago about my cat, and ended up breaking down because I was like, man, I just love him a lot. But you did have there is a question for you in chat, and this can kind of go. I would like this question to then go into like your professional sense, as far as like, I know you started practicing massage, lymphatic, Reiki around the late 90s, and then how that turned into a full-time career and now your own business. The question is, do you know anything about crystals? I heard some stuff about Moldavite today.
Moldavite, yeah. I know a little bit about them. I don't know a lot. I like crystals. They can really help us. You'd probably want to go to a crystal shop and understand more about that. Moldavite, my understanding is that it's not naturally on the earth, and that it's something that connects you with like UFO or other things. If I'm correct, now I'm not going to say I'm totally correct. Hopefully I am, but maybe I'm not. But get books, or find someone in a crystal shop that you can talk to, and they would answer your questions. And because I like crystals. I have crystals. I use them. I think they really can be of support with their energy, and knowing how to clear them, so that when they gather energy, you can clear it out. But they are a real support. And trust yourself with ones that you're drawn to. Trust yourself that that's the right ones that you have, that you want right now. But there's a lot of information on the internet. There's lots of books out there that you can learn about that. But yeah, the crystals are really, really great.
Yeah, I haven't actually, I don't know much about it myself, but I do know a couple people in my life who, swear by using them and say that it has a pretty big impact on their life. And, I know that crystals specifically have a split when it comes to people's opinions, and you and I have talked about things, how people have that whole, yada, yada, yada opinion on certain things. But I look at crystals as this, right? People are using them and having positive impacts from them. Why argue? You know, why spend the time to say, well, this and that? Why argue? Let people find stuff that is helping them. Maybe it doesn't help everybody, but like it's helping individuals. So there's no reason to be rude about it, because there are people who are very rude about it.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And there are those, most of the people that are that way don't really know what they're talking about, and they don't have their own experience. All they can go to is what their own experience is, and anyone who's having a different experience must be wrong or woo woo, or they're too far out there, or whatever, however you would describe that. And I mentioned this to you the other day, that there's a hub, like the hub of the wholeness of who we are, and you see that as a hub of a wheel. And the outer wheel, you have an outer wheel, and then you have spokes in between, and all those different modalities, all the different healing things, maybe the Western medicine. There's all these different spokes on this wheel, and what's right for one person isn't right for another person.
Right.
We each of us have to find the right way, and because I'm not, there's other modalities out there, other emotional healing techniques that I don't use, I'm not really resonating with. A lot of people love those. They're resonating with them. They love them. They're talking to me about how great they work. Great. I'm glad you have that. It isn't something I feel drawn to. And that absolutely means nothing.
Right.
It means nothing. I can't say any judgment about that, because I don't even know it. And we each have to find our own way. And I don't know why I don't resonate with it. I resonate with the ones I use.
Yeah.
But that's why we have so many spokes on the wheel, because there's something there for everyone.
Well, and to be completely transparent, there was a point in my life where I was the person who was like, oh, crystals, how silly. Until I actually started talking to individuals who use them. And they love them, and they get a lot of impact from it. So I do challenge everyone who, you know, if you have a negative opinion on stuff like that, just go and talk to people who are in that world. Go and talk to individuals who use crystals regularly, who wear them, and just listen. Listen to what they have to say, because at the core of it, if it's making them feel better, more happy, it's giving them whatever it is they're searching for, it's not a problem. You know, yeah. That's the big thing. But like I said, I wanted to kind of get the history of where you started as far as so for people listening, you are the owner and founder of the School of Creation in Utah, and you offer lymphatic massage, Reiki healing, hypnosis, and then there's a couple things that are under the hypnosis umbrella as well, like past life regression and a couple other things.
I do pump therapy, which is a separate modality, but I actually do that with hypnosis. So I don't actually have that be something as a separate thing. I do that. Usually use that the first session of a hypnosis session.
Right. So
that's it.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm good. Sorry.
I was just gonna say. So I'm curious, like, as far, because you mentioned like when you were around that 28-29 time period, but you had been interested in these forms of medicine, and then did you just decide to just dive head first and start training and practicing and learning, and then it's just kind of snowballed into a career, or how did that look for you?
Well, I had an interesting upbringing, because both of my parents were from small towns in southern Utah, and they did use some like folklore medicines and some things on us that we would, as kids, when we'd need something, they'd pull out their jars of things. And so we did have that. And my father was a pharmacist. So then we had the other side of it, where he had the medications, the antibiotics, the things that he learned, the science of the big pharma. And so I actually was exposed to both of those worlds. And it was interesting to me. It wasn't a real focus for me growing up, but I just noticed that there were these things that people were doing that seemed interesting to me that weren't from a doctor. And I was interested, I was intrigued. And when you go to college, you get out of the house, that's when a lot of times you start exploring these things more. Well, I got married, and at that point, my husband was a pre-med student looking at becoming a doctor, or at least that was his story that he told me, and I believed it at that point. And he was very much into the Western medicine, very much, and that's what he supported. And anything with the kids, that's what we did, was that Western medicine. I always kept feeling like there were other things we could do, and I couldn't have done it with him. I couldn't have done it in that life. And when things ended, he was taken to prison. I was looking at my life and realizing that I really didn't know who I was and didn't know what I liked, didn't know what I wanted. And I had to find out, and I had to start exploring that. And one of the things I started doing was I started going to free classes to different health food stores in the area that were offering different kinds of modalities. People would come in and do a free class, and then you could pay for the training or whatever they were offering. But I was doing the free classes, and I was learning a lot of things, and it was really opening my eyes and really getting me to understand that there is a different way, and there are things that can be different than that Western medicine. And I like to stay away from that Western medicine. Yet there are times that it's important. I mean, I had surgery, I had things happen that was important for me to be that I felt like I needed to do, that I did. And so I'm not dissing that. I'm not saying not to do it, but I was finding myself more drawn to that alternative. And I became acquainted with Reiki. I wasn't really clear what it was, but it was very intriguing. I was finding myself wanting to learn it and looking for people, did a number of sessions with different people and not feeling like, no, that's not the right person. Okay, that's not the right person. That's not the right person. And then I then I got a call from a friend who was offering this, was doing a multi-level marketing meeting where you have a party, you invite all your friends, and then you're going to show your product, and that's the Tupperware model and other models. And I was invited to that meeting, and I didn't want to go. I don't like going to things when I don't have the money. I can go and I can be excited and really want it, and then I'm not going to be able to buy it. And so I told them I wasn't going to go. I didn't want to do that. And then as soon as I hung up the phone, I made sure that, I had the availability, but then I went and I actually got in my car and drove right over there. So that was interesting because after telling her I'm not coming, and I ended up being the only one that was in the meeting. I was the only one that showed up, and it was very good product. I actually use the product now that was showed that I really liked it, but I didn't buy it then, but I have now. I have it in my house. And after the demonstration, then this woman said, well, one of the things I work for another company, and one of the things I do is I do hypnosis and I do Reiki. And as she said that, I knew that she was the one that was to be teaching me. And then my friend told me, oh, that's why we put this meeting. We put the whole thing all together for you. And so I think that's where it's really important to listen, really important to pay attention, even if you don't totally know why you're doing something, because I didn't know why I was driving over there. I said I wasn't going to go, and yet I ended up going anyway. And I did train with this woman, and she trained in Reiki, and she helped me in a lot of areas. And she was working for another company. I ended up training with Reiki. Then I'm trying to remember the timing of this. Sometimes it's hard to remember, but I did it. I needed to do something for my life. I needed to do something different than what I was doing. The first while after Mark had been put in prison, I had these 4 kids. Oldest was 5, youngest was 6 weeks. And I had to do something for money. And so I started daycare, because what are you going to do? How you're going to have to either have someone take care of your kids for you and pay them, and then what the difference you take home, or you take care of them yourself. And so I started daycare, and then at night I would do sewing, and I started making cakes and pies and things. So I was a good cook, and I started doing those kind of things. And then when my youngest went to kindergarten, I started working for another company. And it's like my sister said to me, she worked for Shopko. She said, I was talking to her about needing to find something. And she said, why don't you not talk to this person that's a rep here that goes around to different stores? She's quitting. Why don't you find out where she works? Which I did. And I got the job. And I think this is where we pay attention to what people are telling us, or what energies, and we can know the way. And I ended up getting a job, worked for them for 8 years, and did the Reiki while I was working for that other company. Did the Reiki, and then I trained as a dental assistant, and I did the 6-week training, and that was really good for me. And I liked it. I was good at it. It gave me a lot of confidence. And then I went to my first interview to a dentist's office, first interview, all excited. And I drove in the parking lot. And the minute I drove in the parking lot, I knew it was not what I'm supposed to be doing. I am not supposed to be doing dental assisting. And I'm like, okay, now what? I have the money that I paid that was paid for my training wasn't mine, it was someone else's money. And I was like, now what? And as I kept asking that question, the answer that kept coming to me was massage. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. No, how do I do it? No, I don't. And finally, when I let go of my resistance and said, okay, I'm going to do massage, then I had to go and find all these different schools. And every time I went to a different school and Salt Lake, it wasn't the right one. Nope, it's not this one. And it's like, who could this be? Who is it how could this be? How can I take this training? None of the schools are the right one. And one day I met a gentleman. I can't even remember how I met him or where I met him, but I met a gentleman, was talking to him. He said to me, oh, I'm taking this massage course from this woman. And she was on the LDS mission. She just got back. She just started her practice. And it's like, oh, you go talk to her. And when I went to talk to her, like 2 days later or 3 days later, I knew she was the one. And so right there, it's like appeared. She wasn't around. Couldn't find the answer because she wasn't even back yet. And I ended up being able to get a title loan, doing all this and things that were needed to get that put together, like boom, 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 really fast at all place. And that's one way to know it's the right thing. And I trained with her. She trained in Europe, and I trained with lymphatic massage and lymphatic, which is popular now. But I had a facial from a woman that she did a good job. She wasn't doing the lymphatic with it, and I could tell a difference because she wasn't doing that. She wasn't trained with using specifically the lymphatic techniques, and I could tell that there was a difference. That, and I'm really happy that I did do that when I did the aesthetics. I don't do that. So that started, and then I did the Reiki, and then I did the massage. I doing my day job and did my other job evenings and on weekends. I would do massages and get practice. I had to take the course. Then I had to do 100 massages after, and you start getting, each time you get better and better. And for a while I did it in my house, which was really interesting with 4 teenagers, but you do what you do with what you have. And I kept feeling like I needed to start my own business. I kept feeling that. Do I need to start my own business? It's like had this feeling to do that. And I was asking my friend, what do you think? And she didn't give me any answers, which is actually good. You need to find your own answers. But I could talk with her about it, and that helped me. It was a sounding board. And January 1st, I got a phone call that said, oh, our company is no longer, you have no job. And because of that energy, because of the focus I'd had with that, I knew that I was going to not get another job. And so I'm going to figure this out, find a way. And I ended up renting space from a massage therapist that I could have part of her space. And it wasn't very much money. And I started there. And for 1 year, I did that. And then I got invited to be with this woman, my Reiki person that was my Reiki trainer. I ended up going into business with her in that company. And then we ended up starting our own business together in 1999. And we were in business together until last year when I decided I wanted to go on my own. And we ended up dissolving that company. And it was time for me to be on my own. So that's basically how it was. And when I joined with her in 1999, she knew hypnosis. She kept telling me, you need to train. And I asked her one day, it's like, you're not going to leave me alone, are you? You're not going to leave me alone. And she says, no. And I was like, okay, well, I might as well go do this because you're not going to let me alone if I don't. And I was a little hesitant. Hypnosis is something there's a lot of myths about, a lot of things that people get fearful. And I was in all those other places, and I had to learn the truth about hypnosis. And so I did the training, and I thought, well, I'm doing massage. I probably won't be doing hypnosis very often. I'll just I'll just use it maybe for help someone relax when they're on the massage table, or I probably won't do much with this. And her son was working with our company, and he was the one doing the hypnosis, and he'd been trained and practiced, and he was a good hypnotist. But one day he and his mom had a fight, and he left never to return. And I would go to work until 5. I'd come home at 5 and then go back at 7 for evening appointments. So I could have dinner with my kids and kind of sort out what's happening with them through the day. And because I had 4 teenagers at that time. And she called me and said, he's gone. We have a paid appointment. Can you come over and do this? And I'm like, oh, dang. It's like, I would say, oh shit, but I wouldn't have used that word then, but that's what it was. Oh no, now what? And I said, yes, I'll do this. And this is part of the process. If you're willing to step into things that feel scary, or you don't know what's going to happen, you have to be willing to do that. And I just thought, well, there's no one else. Okay, I'll see. And I don't know that appointment was really that good of an appointment with that person. But after that, I began to learn, and I began to practice with clients. And some of the clients didn't know they were guinea pigs when they were coming in. But I really learned. And I learned I was good at Reiki. I knew how to do that, and I could do it well. I learned, and I didn't know that before. I learned that I was really good at massage, and I had low confidence. It was hard and scary. I'd come home from the class crying sometimes, but I'd remember that this feeling of why I was going, and then I'd keep going. And I found out I was really good. I had the teacher tell me that my massage was the best massage she'd ever had from a student. That was like an amazing compliment. And I'm just like, what? How did that happen? And I was good at it. And when I started doing the hypnosis, I found out I was good at it. And it was really amazing. And if I had been left on my own and just to find hypnosis, to be put in that place of stepping up, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't, if I hadn't had the push up, I wouldn't have had that incentive. Someone else with me that was helping me to step into places where I wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't have done it. So for her, I'm very grateful that she was in my life, and I know there was no accident that she was in my life. And each one of us has that journey. Each one of us has they're angels or guides, whatever you want to call them. There are those beings that are helping us to find our way, helping us to turn on the right side of the street, helping us to go to be where we need to be, helping us to realize what it is. And maybe that first step, sorry, my phone's ringing. Maybe that first step isn't where you need to be, but maybe it's going to get you where you need to be. Maybe it's the first step, and the next step is or down the road is where you need to be. And really being able to listen and trust that, and learning how to trust that process. And from then on, it's like, now I'm in my own business, starting it. I mean, I decided in January, I thought about it like 3 years ago, but I started it in January, and then registered in February. And then by March, it was like, what's going on now? And then officially opening in April. And then I couldn't even do it for April and May, couldn't even be open. And so you just never know how it's going to be. Yeah, June started, and Zoom started. June and Zoom started. And it's like, people talk about this dismal 2020, and it's like, where was I? I didn't experience dismal 2020. I had a grand time, and I don't like the mask. I mean, there's certain things I didn't like about it, but I just thought it was really great. And I didn't have the deaths in my family. I mean, I didn't have some of those things. Yet someone is really having a tough time. Let me help you. Let's get you having a good time. Let's get you having fun in your life, even with the hard things that are going on. And my life isn't a smooth line. I have stresses. I have intensities. I have things coming up that are hard, or that I don't want to deal with, and that I have to do. And I'm no different than anybody else, but I have a vision. I'm excited about my life. I'm excited to go to work every day, and I have problems I need to solve. I've got a couple of people that want me to do. One wants me to create a recording. I got to figure out how to do that. I have this technology that I've got to figure out how to conquer. And yeah, it's fun. It's like, how awesome. And then I know I'm helping people, but there's something, everyone has a place. Everyone has a plan. There were decisions made before you came. There's something here for you. Everyone has a something. whether it's a paid job or business or something that you just do because you like to for people. And it doesn't have any form. Everyone has it. Everyone's getting help. No one's left out. Everyone has talents. Everyone has gifts. Everyone has something that they're really good for. Everyone has passions in the soul. Those are things. It's just finding it. It's just finding it. And that young woman sitting on the floor crying, being alone with their husband in prison, and wondering what the heck's going to happen to me, and what's going to happen. And I knew I had to get up every day and take care of these kids. I mean, I wasn't going to not do that, but I didn't know, and I didn't know who I was and what I was going to do. And now it's like, now look, wow,
Right.
But see this, I didn't see this back then. I had to do that one step. It's like that Indiana Jones show where he has to step out, and he has to have that faith and make that step, and then there's that bridge. That's what we need to be. It's like we step out that one place we can step, and then another place will show up, and then another place will show up. We aren't necessarily given the whole way, but you have to have that faith. You have to have that trust, and it's learned. It's innate, but it's also that practice and learning and how to do that. And hey, if I can help you, I'm happy to do that. I would love to do that. That rings my chimes when I can help someone with that, and that's what I'm here to do. So I would love to help anyone who could use that. But you also have your own resources, and maybe there's other people that you need to go to for help. Go to them, and I'm happy for you. And if someone comes into my business and I'm not the right one for them, I have many resources that I'll send you to the person that feels right to me. And I'm not the be all end all of everything. And if there's a different place you need to go, or someone who specializes a different way, I'll give you their name and you can go call them.
Right. I mean, fascinating and inspiring, I think that last little bit was, because I do want to point out that I think it's very interesting that early on you were doing a lot of very entrepreneurial stuff. Own daycare, making pies, cooking, selling, like all that. That's like the lifestyle that you're living now. So it's cool to see how that has always progressed. Like, because you had that moment where you drove up to the dental company and you're like, nope, this isn't it. This isn't it. So I wonder if like mentally you just knew, like, or whatever it was that was guiding you, like, was just like, you need to be the one who's in charge of what you're doing. And and when you opened up from 99 to last year, you're partners, you're owning a company, you were an entrepreneur at that point too. So like, it's just it's fascinating. And I think that with all the past that is now out, and people can watch the documentary if they choose to, and see what you had to go through, like the fact that, like we said early on, the fact that you are where you are now it's beyond inspiring. And I really think that if anyone is listening or who watches this later on or comes across Dorie one way or the other, like, take the time to get to know her, because like there's not individuals who are going to be as genuine and helpful. Like, I mean, she just told you, like, she wants to help you, but if she can't, she's going to give you someone that can help. Like that doesn't happen in business. That doesn't happen in a lot of places. That's genuine care for other individuals.
Well, thank you. And that is my truth. And it's interesting because when I was in high school, we had to take a test. What are we good at? And I came up as a farmer. It's like that was the ideal professional farmer. And I remember looking at my fellow people who farmer. And now later it was identified that farmer, it wasn't the word used then, but entrepreneur would have been the same. It's like, what does a farmer do? They have all these different things they have to do, all these different areas they have to do to put together a whole life. All these different areas they need to know, different places and different things. And that makes sense now. It's like, wow, that is what I was. And I have, my parents were from a small town, and then they moved to the big city, and my dad worked for other people. And but my grandparents were farmers. They were ranchers. They lived that life. And I think, well, maybe it's in my genes. They grew they had trees, fruit trees. They would sell fruit trees, and they do. One uncle was a sheep herder, and they would do all these different things different times of year and to raise the money. And I think maybe I'm taking after them. But that's interesting when I realized later that farmer wasn't about owning a farm. It was about being able to do all kinds of different things, because that's what farmers have to do. And that entrepreneur is actually the right name. And so that was like, wow, that really fit me when I was puzzled and didn't know what to do with it. And it actually fit, because that is what I am. And that was great to know. And I didn't know that. And the only reason I didn't go get a regular job is I didn't fit in the box.
Right.
I couldn't fit in the box. I was wanting to do that. And I was trying, that's the secure way. You get the benefits. That's what you want to do. And blah, 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 how secure everything is. And I didn't fit in the box of that, and I couldn't go there. And so I just totally just gave that up, Well, I worked for the other company for a while, but it's like, I'm not fitting. I just need to do something else. And what can I do?
And what's a bummer is I think that there's a lot of people who would agree with you, like have that sentiment of like, I just don't fit in this normal ideology of like, hey, I go and work for this company and get my benefits and all that. Cause I'm one of those people 100%. I have bounced around from different jobs, from, fast food to manufacturing to all different facets. And, some people look at that as a negative. They're like, well, why don't you stay at a job for a long time? Like, it has nothing to do with the fact that the job isn't paying well or I can't do it. It's because it wasn't for me. And I've always wondered why, like, our society is like, oh, well, if you can't keep a job for 5 years, that doesn't look good on a resume. It's like, well, yeah, but did you ask why I left? Like, do you care that it just, like, it didn't make me happy and I'm not going to continue to live my life unhappy. Like, it's just a weird thing that we have still in society, like the whole, not being like frowned upon to bounce around jobs and try and find what makes you happy. And then long and behold, the entrepreneurial lifestyle is what also makes me happy, because it's all on me. If I, like a farmer, I think there is no more difficult entrepreneur than a farmer, just because if they don't wake up and do those things, their whole entire money could be ruined. Like for me, like if I wake up one day and I'm like, I could kind of slack off, like, well, I can make it up tomorrow. Farmer does that could be the whole entire harvest gone that day.
Yeah, and they could even do everything the right way and then have it gone anyway. Yeah. And that is it, tough life. But I look at you as saying, well, you're trying on different coats. That's what I see. And there were a lot of people in the past who did the 9-to-5 job, who did for the benefit, who did the way that society told them, and they were so unhappy, lived their whole life at this job that they really didn't like. And they never ventured out. They never did, because that was much more pressure. Mm-hmm. Like now there is more out of the box. And it doesn't look good on a resume, or maybe it does. I'm trying on different coats. I'm finding out who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest, if I were to apply somewhere and they're like, oh, we don't like that, then guess what? That's definitely not the fit for me. Not the right size.
And that's a challenge for employers, because they used to be able to depend on someone staying for a certain amount of time. And now they have a higher turnover because people are like, no, I tried that coat on, I'm done. And they're like, wait, stay longer.
Right.
Because of that, I think it's great to be able to say, I don't have to stay here. If I'm not liking it, I don't have to stay here. And sometimes, if you did stay there, maybe you would. It's like sometimes there is a thing with having it be there long enough to really see. And I'm not saying anything about a should to you. I know that I was hearing the other day about BNI, which is a networking group that I'm in, and they were saying that the first year there's like 50% of people that would quit that after the first year. Well, I have been in it for a year now, and I didn't do that well with it because I was learning how. And right now at the end of that year, it's like things are starting to happen. And then they said, well, by the time 2 years are over, it's like 97% of people stay. And so you gave it the time. And so there's two sides to this. One, not staying because it's okay, I'm not like it, I'm not happy, and saying, okay, or I'm going to give it this much time and see what maybe it will click, maybe it'll fit, maybe we'll fit together. So I think looking at both sides of that is really important. And because there is that patience, there is that area. And you're 26, you're not 40. I think you have plenty of time to decide.
Right. And I think
I'm not,
it's
and I,
well, I think it's important to set those boundaries for yourself too. Like, if you identify that something doesn't make you happy, or you just don't see the long term picture or whatever that is, like setting those boundaries of like, well, maybe in 6 months, if I'm still feeling the same way, maybe it's time, or
yeah,
a year or 2 years or whatever that looks like for each individual. But it's definitely the more you become self aware with who you are and what you desire, like we talked about at the beginning of this, like that's when those decisions become a little bit easier. Like, if you're working that 9 to 5 and every day you wake up and like, man, I wish that I didn't have to do this.
yeah.
There's gonna be a breaking point of either you deal with it and just live your life that way and try and find happiness otherwhere, or you make a change.
Yes, and with my massage training, I was very unhappy in that. Every day, yeah, it was hard, and because I knew it was no accident. I was there. I knew all the things that happened to get me there. I was able to hang in there. So sometimes it's that. It's where because you have that feeling, or or you have that answer inside you that this is the right place for me. And I think that is also important. And that even though this is the right place, it may not be in the moment you're happy, but as you stick it out. So there that goes back again to knowing, why am I in this job? Why am I doing this? Why am I here? Is this the right place for me? And if you can find those answers for yourself, then that difficult time you can hang in there and go through that and stay. Or if it isn't, then what do I need to learn? How long do I need to stay here? And then I will be on my way. So there still is that place where learning how to check inside is really important, so that you are where you need to be.
Right. No, I agree 100%. And, like we mentioned too, that is a practice and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And, just harkening back, you gotta really practice getting to know yourself. And I think meditation is a good first step to gratitude and all
Yeah.
of that. Like there's plenty of resources now available to us that we could do in our homes, that we can do every single day, that are going to strengthen those bonds with yourself. It's I always use the analogy, it's like a muscle, right? If you go to the
Mhm.
gym the first day and you try and lift the biggest dumbbell, you're not going to be able to do it. But if you start with a lower dumbbell and work on it for 2-3 years, you might be there. You might be able to do that. And nothing happens overnight. It's just the hard reality.
Yeah, that is what it is. It does take the time. Meditation's a good one. Breath work. A lot of people who do breath work. Yoga is really good. There are things out there. I agree that you can do online, or you can do by yourself, or you can go in person. And right now, a lot of things are opening up where more in person is going to be happening. And it's like finding what you look at it, and it's like I have more interest in that than this. There's more energy with that one than the other. And it's kind of the same way with looking at a crystal. You look at different crystals, and this is one I'm finding myself looking at more. And this is one that it just doesn't even matter to me. So that crystal that you're looking at more is the one that you need to be buying for yourself. It's kind of that same thing. And you find the right person, or the right class, or the right place to go that help you to have those longer thoughts. I definitely need more practice now, but having those longer that you're going into that place of peace, and you're letting all the linear go for a short while. And that is a really good way to find that's a really good way to find your way. It really is.
Right. Well, and believe it or not, we have been going for an hour and a half already. It
seems like 10 minutes.
Right. And that's my favorite part about, doing this type of stuff, regardless of viewership or who listens or who says what, like individuals who can really get, and I challenge, this is my challenge for everyone this week, like sit down with someone, whether you know them a lot or you don't, they're either an old friend or a new friend or someone who you've never even talked to before. Try and have like an hour conversation with them, a genuine conversation with them for an hour, because not only are you going to realize how fast time flies, but you gain a lot from other people's experiences, and you gain things that you can implement into your life that I think can happen. And that's how I feel about you. Like we've been talking for 4 weeks now, and usually half the time it's about life and what's going on in our world. And what started out as a Connect Utah, which for those of you who listen outside of Utah or outside of the business world, it's like a networking service. It's like a networking group. We communicated on there with plans of like helping each other out, like getting to know social media. I wanted to get a lymphatic massage from her, and next thing you know, we're talking about life and our pursuits and who we are, and 4 or 5 weeks later we just had an hour and a half conversation, and it feels like it was 10 minutes. So like you never really know who you're going to meet and who will have an impact on you. And I just challenge everyone to go and do that.
Well, that's awesome. I find a lot of joy in talking to you. It's very enjoyable.
Well,
I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Thank you. Well, how about this for tonight? Let's go ahead and close off the show. But I want to give you some additional time to kind of give where people can find you, as far as either your websites and different things like that, and then give yourself like the best sales pitch you can do, I guess you could say, for those who just be you, because people are going to love you regardless. And for those of you who are listening, go show some love over to her and her business.
Okay, well, I'm Dorie Olds, the creation coach with the School of Creation, and I do Reiki and hypnosis and lymphatic massage, helping you to be the creatrix of your own life, creating the life that you came to have, because you had a life you came to have. That's what I do. And my website is schoolofcreationutah.com, and I have a phone number. It's 801-674-7329. That's for my business. And I have a email right now. We'll be changing it, but for right now, it's Dorie Olds. My name, Dorie Dorieo Designs, DESIGNS.com. And that's my email. And I would love to have you contact me. I'd love to set up a consultation. That's what I usually do first, is just do a free consultation and see how I can help you, if I'm the right one for you. And if that's true, then we can decide what things you'd like to learn. I teach Reiki. I do Reiki sessions. I do lymphatic massage. I do hypnosis for a lot of different areas. I'm really good at stop smoking and weight loss and sports. I love doing sports, academics. I do a lot of testing. We have a medical school here, and I do a lot of hypnosis for medical school students taking their boards. I work with children, and I have a really good time.
Yep, and I'm a customer of hers, or a client, whichever word you guys prefer. I did get a lymphatic massage from her, and I do plan on getting more in the future. So for a testimonial, there you guys go. I do want to thank you for your time, Dorie. And I'm super excited to see what happens, in the future with us. And you're always welcome back on here if you have time. If you ever have the desire to want to chat it up more, the door's always open.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I think we'll always have something to talk about, I think.
Yes. And then for everyone else listening, thank you guys very much for hanging out with us and joining in the conversation. If you have something you'd like us to talk about in the future, feel free to drop it in the comments. And then if you're here for the start, you guys know that we're finally sponsored. We've been sponsored for a month through Hepius Med, and then we are also sponsored by Dark Prime Collectibles now. I just want to thank those two companies very much for reaching out and being a part of the show. So thank you guys again, everyone, for listening, and we will catch you next week on Friday at 6 p.m. Take care.
See you later.